Hello everyone, welcome back to Epify Live. This is a full stack Laravel videos tutorial series, and we are doing ACL, Advanced Access Control Listing. So in my previous video, I showed you how we can add the admin and the admin user. Okay, now we need to fix our current admin system because we used a very simple way to detect whether you are an admin or the users by having an user type. But now this one will not work, so what we have to do is that we have to do a relation with the rule ID, okay? And we do have to have a permission. Now one problem we have is that we don't know who is the actual user and who are the admins, so we have to have a field. Let's say by default we can call it is admin, and then we can have a tiny integer, and the length can be 1 and the default value can be 1. So each admin is 1 by default for almost everyone, right? So you are an admin, you're an admin, you're an admin, but we can have another field and that will actually say, okay, you are an user and definitely you are not an admin, so you will not get access to the system, right? So that's what it's pretty much mean. So if you are an admin, we will allow you to the admin system and make you logged in, and if you are not, then you will not be able to go ahead because the admin is 0 for you. Okay, so this is what we have to do, and we have to add one more thing here. Since is the rules is the name, so we have to have a rule ID as an integer. Okay, and rule ID here we cannot use user type or something, so let's go ahead and see 1 and 2 rule ID. So we have to have rule ID 1 and 2. Okay, let's make it 0 for the time being to test our login system. Okay, and let's go ahead and check out our login system and modify the current code base so that it works. So let's go ahead. Yeah, here you go, we have the admin login. Now it checks for the user type equal user, so that will not work. Now what we have to do is we have to get the user rule, right? So let's go ahead and let's print out the user console log.info, and if we try to get the rule user.role, and maybe we have to define the relationships, but let's go ahead and see first. Yeah, it's obviously is undefined, so what we have to do is we have to define a relationships. Okay, public function role. Okay, now let me explain what is a relationship in Laravel. So here you see we have in user table a rule ID. Okay, this ID is actually belongs to, okay, let me go ahead and check out, is admin 0 and 2 should be 2. It should be, oh, sorry, for user it should be 4, not 0. Okay, you see this 4, this rule ID 4 exists in rule table, and this is the primary key. These are called primary keys. If you know what is a relationship, you can skip and go ahead, and I'm explaining for those who do not know what is a relationships. Okay, so rule ID, you see this they are called foreign keys. So you see I have foreign keys 2 and 4, and I can understand, okay, this rule and ID. So the Laravel way of naming the foreign keys is the table name is singular, then the underscore and the ID. This is how you do. So our table name is rules, it's a plural. Now if we make it a singular, it will be rule, and then if we add underscore and ID, it will be rule ID. That's perfect. Now This ID can be found in rules table. So we can say this rule table, rule ID belongs to the rules table. Okay, so it's a belongs to relation 1 to 1 actually. Okay, because this can be one to many. Okay, but actually this one ID, one row will have one ID. Okay, so this ID is actually belongs to the rules table, right? So we will have a belongs to relationships. So let's return this. This is how you write a belongs to relations. Okay, now you need to give the your model name. So actually it is we are not going to give the relationship in this table because we are accessing the user, right? So we will give this relationship in user table instead. Okay, so let's move on and add this relation. So we can see that we can say that, okay, fine, uh, this rule okay, this rule has an ID that belongs to the rules table. Okay, and you can assign rule ID like this if you have a different kind of foreign keys, but Laravel understand your foreign keys if you have maintained the naming convention the Laravel's way. So we don't need to provide a name. So if you go to the Laravel website and relationship, you will have a lot of easy explanation, and you can go ahead and search for one to one belongs to has one. So that means it has an relation, it has an ID. You see that says a foreign key and the local key. Okay, and you see there's belongs to. We don't need to provide the foreign key because Laravel understand your foreign key. Let's see, you see user ID. User is your, normally your table name is plural, users, but if it is a singular then it becomes user with underscore ID, it becomes user ID. So that's very simple. Okay, now rule is defined. We can call the user rule. Now let's go ahead and check our Laravel log and let's move on. We are getting still an error. Log or something went wrong. Okay, so that means we are getting the data, but we are trying to access this one this way. That's why we're getting an error. So what we can do is we can access the rule. Here you see, okay, before I access anything, I would like to show you what it returns. It returns the whole row. Okay, so let's go ahead and actually return this data. Okay, and then we will access and show you. Okay, type error set contact. Okay, I'm going to post one must be of type string or null object given. So it seems to be an object, right? Okay, let's return something like this instead and see. Okay, it's got return and it's an object. Okay, I think we are not being able to see this object. Let's do a ddump dd. I would like to show you what we have. We have actually the whole rules, this whole row. So that is an object, but it's unfortunately not getting. Okay, it's dumping the. We have to go to the login page, and we have to stop this one from redirecting. So let's move on and check. Yeah, here you go. We have the item now. An attribute. Okay, we have the first name, last name. it's too many information. Let's see what information we are looking for. What did we load? User rule. Okay, so let's check it out with okay, it's not getting here, or maybe it's somewhere I'm just missing. That's never mind for that. So instead of these things, what we can do is we can simply return this rule name actually. Okay, so we can return the rule name since it's actually returning the whole row. Okay, so what is this user? This user is this email. So that means we are using the id1, and id1 has a rule id of 4, and if it is a 4 we will get this row, this whole row. Okay, so we should, if we print the rule name, we should get the user. Okay, so let's see if we get the user now. And CSRF token mismatch, so let's see and refresh this page. It can be because of this. And undefined property, okay, this property is it's saying it's not defined. Yeah, here you go. We can access this user ID. So user rule was giving this the whole error, so we can access this simply just user rule, not the function. So if we do not return this one, let's see if we can log it instead, and let's say we will return from here instead, and we were able to log. Okay, you see id 4. Okay, maybe we can have a better view from returning from here with just the rule. Okay, so if we do the user role, you will get the related model. So related model is in the rules table. Okay, and you are getting the whole row. Okay, whole one row. Okay, id 4 is admin 0, permission none, rule name user. So we're getting the complete row. Okay, the related model. Okay, related row. So what's happening right now is that once you return users, and user has a relation foreign key of rule id, and it has 4, then we have defined the relationship in here, this rule. Okay, and you just you were saying, okay, I have a record of rule from user that belongs to the user rules table. Okay, so normally if this is how it is defined, the model name of the related model. So in our case, the related model from user is rule, and you could have passed the foreign key, but Laravel automatically passed the foreign key on behalf of you. So that means whenever you have an ID, and you can get its related model. So if it is 2, you can easily say you can call user rule. So it will give you, or it will return the number 2 records. Okay, so let's see what is the 2 in the record. So you will get editor null 1. Okay, so this is how you will be able to get the information from your related models. Okay, that's not a rocket science, that's simple. Hope you understood right now. Let's delete this file, we don't need this one. And yep, so you understand these things now, right? So what we will be doing is that instead of comparing with an user, because we don't know who is user and who is admin, so that is the problem. Since we don't know who is who, so we have to do if is admin. So we have to say, okay, if rules dot isadmin equal 1 or equal 0, we can say okay, if rule isadmin equal 0, incorrect login details, because we're not allowing you. Okay, so that means if someone with the rule ID 4, so if any users from this table with the rule ID of 4 try to log in, will get an isadmin of 0, and by default if you get an 0, you will be logged out automatically, so you will get incorrect details. Okay, so here you go, you can get incorrect details, so that's perfect. But if I come here and change the rule to 1, we should be able to log in now. See, we are logged in. Perfect, right? So we will remove this redirect now, and we should not be able to be stay here. So we are back to our dashboard. Okay, so it's all working fine. Now we have to do the same thing in our admin check page, where we have done that check as well. So here you go, we have to check if user rule dot isadmin, so you are able to access the same thing. So if you are the if its admin is 0, that means if you are a user, we can say okay, you are not allowed to access these things as well. So let's move on and check it out. So we have it right now, so that's simple. And if we have this let's say we have this API, and if we try to access this API, so we get the data. But let's check, let's say we have changed the ID to 4, which means we are the users. You see, we are getting, you are not allowed to access this row. That means we have removed the access of admin, even you cannot read the data. Okay, so everything is working extremely fine, and I'm loving it. Now, in the next video, what I will be doing is that I will be trying to add the rule access rule. I will assign the resources of our dashboard to different admin system. Okay, and it will be completely dynamic. So you have to understand all of this basic stuffs in order to move on and go ahead. Okay, so we have one more things to solve here, and you see we have an admin, and here we just pass the string. So instead of passing the string, we have to pass the ID here. So let's do these things right now as well. And here we have app get user, so we can get the user as well here. So here I will try to teach you something interesting as well. And so let's move on to the rules page, and in the rule in rule page we have an API done there, and that's one. So you could have a Mixin. If this API is used multiple times, you could have a Mixin and call just one time. So we need to get the rule. So instead we can say res rule. I'm telling you something very nice idea here. So I can call exactly this way, right? And then I can do multiple check here. So what will happen here? It will have a really ugly it will be really annoying, simply because let's say if I do this way, what will happen then is this code will be executed first, and then this code will be executed. Okay, so what we can do, let's say we have a rules array, and then if we actually try to, let me show you, this is important stuff, so you should know these things as well. So let's go ahead, and we can say okay, rules okay, ID, okay, rules. Okay, stick with me, this is important for you guys. Rules. Okay, so that means for this API we have this condition, for the second API we have this condition, so things are fine. Now let me show you what is the problem. Actually the problem is the delay. Okay, so after this one will be executed, and it will wait until the server returns something, and then this will be executed and the server returns something. Okay, so it means, look at that, this one got run first and then this one. Okay, again, you see, first second. So this is annoying. Well, so what we can do is we can write something like this, constant res and res rule as the way we did, and then we can write one await, and then we can write promise, and we can do all. Okay, and then we can pass an array here. Okay, and we can pass all of our APIs that needs to run. So then mean promise.all will execute all of our APIs at once, so it will not void. So what it will mean is that it will run all of the APIs and then it will get the data. Okay, so let's go ahead and check out. You see, now everything started simultaneously, but the last one took some time. That's fine. You see, both of them has started together. Okay, so let's move on and add these rules here. Okay, so instead of having an aesthetically defined rules, we can have something like this: before ri in rules, and we can say, okay, key is equal I, and condition is be if rules dot length. So if we get the length, then we can do these things, and we can say, okay, our rule name is rule name, which is perfect, and for the value we can take only ID. So how can we get the ID? We can say r.id. Okay, that's super fine. And then for we don't need to assign the normal user, so that will be fine for now. Okay, here you go, we have these things, and let me check what the problems we are facing. We have all the rules here is admin. Let's check it out if we have the rules array. Okay, in rules we have two objects, admin. Okay, so, I think we have actually assigned some wrong values inside the rules, and yep, it should not be res, it should be res rule.data. Okay, so that should be correct now. Let's do the refresh again. Here you go, we have these things. Okay, we have admin, editor, moderator, and users. Okay, so we are correct, right? So now it will assign something. Okay, let's add a moderator. Moderator, and we can say moderator@gmail.com, and he's a moderator. And let's go ahead and click. Okay, we're getting an error. User type, so we don't have a user type right now defined, so we have to remove that user type from here, and from, okay, instead of user type we have to have one more thing is here. So let's solve this as well and then finish this video. So we have to have a rule ID here, so we can say rule ID can be null initially. Rule ID can be null initially, so rule ID here. So instead of user ID we can say rule ID, and now in add we can say rule ID, and in edit as well we can say rule ID. So that should be good now. Let's add a moderator now. Moderator, and his email can be moderator@moderator. Rule ID team is not this dot rule ID. Okay, since it's not in string, it's null, so we don't have to do this. We don't do this way of checking. It's not in string, it's an ID, so we check it's if not this way, and we do the same thing here if not this way. Okay, what's the wrong thing we are getting now? Okay, we have created the user with, okay, we have a problem here in the user table as well. We have to give the role ID. Yes, otherwise it will not get be inserted, so that is the problem. Let's go ahead in our user table and delete this user. See, we have got null here, so let's remove this one, and we don't need a user type anymore, so let's remove it from here. And let's check out what was that error from here. So if we click on here, you will get an error, unshift rested data. So we got this error, tags.unshift. Okay, so that means it says tags. Let's see what we have here. We have users here, not the tags, so we would get an error obviously. So that's should be good enough right now. Moderator, and let's go ahead and add this user type field. The user type field is required, and let's check it out. What was the problem with that one? And user type is required if this the data the rule ID. Let's check it out with console.log and see what do we have as a rule ID. Okay, and we will be able to see what step we need to take. Okay, so let's go ahead and check. Okay, we have a moderator here, we have ID 3, so the email has already been taken. The user type, oh okay, so the error, it was working and the error was coming from the backend. Okay, so backend has a registration at admin user, so let's go ahead and create user. Okay, you see user rule, so we can set a rule ID. So we can set the rule ID is required, not the rule. Okay, so what we can do is here we can go ahead and create a moderator now, and it will not give us this error. Something went wrong. 500. Okay, we can see what is the error. User type cannot be null. Perfect, so that's okay. We have user type and then it says okay, not null. So what we can do is we can delete this user type from the system. Okay, we don't need this user type anymore, so we have to solve it. And now we have something more error, column not found, unknown column. Yeah, that's okay, because we are trying to insert the user type here. So we will simply insert the rule ID instead. So let's move on. Perfect, we have created a new user with a rule ID of 3, and check that out. Okay, so rule ID 3, perfect, awesome. And okay, in the next video we have fixed our current current projects to use the rule system. Okay, advanced rule system, so that's perfect. And the next video I will show, assign the resources to different users based on their rules, and they will only be able to access what admin decide for them to access. Okay, so the next video is going to be really important, a little bit advanced. I will try to explain as much as possible, but before that you have to understand all these basic stuff. Thank you guys for watching this video. Have a nice time.